Well done, Ed. That's a great conversation. It's a show all by itself, that's for sure. But let's shift gears and talk about some stuff that's in the news, shall we, in the war in Ukraine.
Yeah,
as I mentioned at the top. Yeah, as I mentioned at the top of the show, there's been a barrage of hypersonic missiles that have been intercepted by the Ukrainians. So these are the interceptions from yesterday. This is what actually happened. So across the top line there, they're all the KINZHAL hypersonic missiles. So 6 of them were intercepted. There was one that was shot down about a week ago or so, and no one really knew what was going on. But it's now come out, the Ukrainians have said that we've shot 6 of these down. In the middle, they're the Caliber cruise missiles that have been shot down. On the left there, the little airplane-looking ones, they're all on drones. The little triangle-shaped ones, they're the Iranian drones, and the missiles on the bottom are the Iskander missiles that are there. So if you don't know, this is what a KINZHAL missile is. So if you look at the outline, the graphic on the top line there, the KINZHAL missile there on the bottom of the MiG-31 Foxhound there, that's actually what it is. It's a big missile. The aircraft is capable of going at 3 times the speed of sound. It goes all the way up to altitude, up at 50, 60,000 feet, and it fires that missile up into the atmosphere, and it goes, kind of drops down and fires all the way up, and then it comes down in a trajectory down at planet Earth like that. So a hypersonic missile, something that is hypersonic, goes more than 5 times the speed of sound. That's the idea, anything above that. But it can go between 5 and 10 times the speed of sound. No one really knows how fast these KINZHAL missiles go, other than the Russians, of course. And it's suggested that they go somewhere in the vicinity of about 10 times the speed of sound. And we know that from some of the testing that's been put out, fired from eastern Russia over near Vladivostok, and it gets to the other side of the country in no time at all. And you can calculate how fast it's going by that distance and based on the open source intelligence that's out there. So it's said that these things can't be intercepted because they don't go outside of the atmosphere. So a ballistic missile, so think of like a Terminator movie or like a World War III movie you've seen where they launch an ICBM and it launches from the ground and it goes outside the Earth's atmosphere, and then the camera pans and you see the missiles crossing each other in flight. So that's a ballistic trajectory, right? It gets out of the atmosphere into space, and they're essentially just rockets. Yeah, and the rocket has, as the rocket separates, as it goes through its path, on the end of the rocket, there's several warheads. So a Satan II missile, a Russian one, has like up to 15 different warheads on it. So you could wipe out all of the military installations in the United States with probably about 2 or 3 Satan II missiles, because the number of warheads there, they go to different targets and where it is, etc. So the American ICBM missiles only have 1 warhead on them. So not very many, and they haven't been updated, but they're said to be updated pretty soon, and a whole lot of stuff's going to actually happen, which seems crazy in this day and age. So the hypersonic missiles don't go outside of the atmosphere. They skim across the top of the atmosphere, which makes them really hard to see on radar. And the Chinese, so let me join some dots here for you on why this actually matters. So the Chinese look at American aircraft carriers, and they don't call them carriers. Do you know what they call them, Ed? They call them targets. So it's a funny thing, right? So the Chinese don't have a blue water navy or a submarine capability to go and sink these aircraft carriers. So what they developed was they actually rationalized their army. When Xi Jinping came to power, he got rid of about half of the army. And everyone's like, oh, what job do I have now? And they said, well, with no more army, we're going to turn you into the missile force. We're going to be the biggest missile force in the world. And in that process of doing that, they created hypersonic missiles. And they have, you would have seen on Chinese military parades before, they have these funny scooped shaped things, and they have what they call a hypersonic glide vehicle. And that hypersonic glide vehicle skims across the top of the atmosphere, and it can maneuver as it's coming in. So it doesn't go outside of the atmosphere, so we can't see it when it's in the top of the atmosphere. Our space-based infrared has a really hard time seeing it, and the computers and the AI have a hard time tracking its trajectory. And then when the ship's radar can actually see it, trying to intercept something like that is very difficult because it's such a small target, maneuvering at 10 or 11 or 15 times the speed of sound, and then it's maneuvering as well, it's going to hit the aircraft carrier, right? That's the idea of it. So these KINZHAL missiles, to our knowledge, don't have a maneuvering capability, and they're certainly not glide vehicles that come in. We've got the Patriot system that has actually been given to the Ukrainians. So this is the Patriot system here. So there's two types of Patriot systems. There's a Pack 2 and a Pack 3. So Pack 3 is the most advanced system, and it has 16 canisters in it. So on the left-hand side of that launcher there, you can see there's 4 and 4, and then there's 4 and 2. So it's missing 2 canisters in there. And the Pack 3 missile system is a direct kinetic energy weapon where you hit a missile with a missile. That's the idea of it. The Pack 2 missile system is designed to fire the Patriot missile comes and the incoming missile is coming at you and it explodes and the fragmentation actually hits it. And the fragmentation is designed to actually destroy the incoming threat and the incoming missile. But that we don't know if that is actually working. So what we don't know as well is what missile system the Ukrainians have been given. Have they been given Pack 2s or Pack 3s? I can't find any photos of them. The Ukrainians have been very good at actually hiding what it is that they've got. What I can find is on the open source intelligence from the Ukrainians, they did training on Pack 2 in Germany. And the Germans were the ones that handed over the actual Patriot systems. So have they got Pack 2s or Pack 3s? Everything works the same. The systems are the same. The engagement envelope is a bit bigger with the Pack 3 because they're more updated. The point of me going through all of this technical mumbo jumbo is to say that hypersonic missiles were thought to be invincible and we couldn't shoot them down. And we thought that this was actually not. We know that we can shoot a ballistic missile down. That's been proven many times. The Patriot system's been tested more than 3,000 times. And it's had more than, according to the Raytheon website, more than 1,400 shots. So it's been fired a lot of times. And it's got a really, really bad reputation. Terrible reputation. The Patriot system didn't work in Saudi Arabia when in Yemen the Iranian drones were getting through and they were hitting the oil refineries. And the Patriot systems were there, the world's best missile defense systems were there to protect these high-value targets and assets, and they were being destroyed by $20,000 Iranian remote-controlled drones. It's kind of funny, really. But that's asymmetric warfare, where they're using something that Patriot's not designed to kill a $20,000 drone. It's designed to shoot down an ICBM, and it's designed to shoot down a cruise missile, a caliber cruise missile type thing. And we've seen now that that's actually been true, and that's actually worked. And when we look at these interceptions here and what's gone on in the last couple of days and how that's happened, so it's estimated that that strike that the Russians did had cost the Russians more than $128 million to do that. And everything that they threw at the Ukrainians was destroyed. So those KINZHAL missiles, the hypersonic capability of those things was designed to give the Russians an asymmetric defense or asymmetric capability against our defense systems. And that's now been proven on the battlefield to not be true. It was proven once last week, and now it's been proven 6 times in one evening that it actually is not true. Your hypersonic missile systems don't mean shit. And your hypersonic missile system, so long as we've got a Patriot battery in play, are going to get shot down. It's as simple as that. You don't have an asymmetric advantage against us. If we don't have Patriot systems protecting the assets that you're going after, sure, you're gonna get through, and there's nothing else that could probably shoot it down. But there's other systems out there designed to shoot down ballistic missiles. And so the Russian Air Force has been completely limp and impotent in this conflict. And their advantage so far has been their hypersonic weapon systems. And now that advantage has been taken away. They've failed completely to gain air superiority inside of Ukraine, and they've had that asymmetric advantage by being able to launch those KINZHAL missiles from over the horizon and striking targets, and they have been effective up until now. Yesterday as well, it was said that one of those strikes got through and actually collected one of the Patriot systems. So the Russians came out and said, no, we were targeting those systems, and one of them was actually hit. And inside a Patriot battery, there's up to four trucks with 16 missile systems each. So we don't know if there's 16 missiles on each truck or there's only 4 missiles on each truck. So this is a key difference, and the reason that I'm going down that path and talking about the different varieties of them, because if there's 16 Pack 3 missiles on each truck, it gives us more capability to defend against it. And when you think about it, how quickly can we reload those 16 missiles on that one truck? Well, I don't know. That's the problem, is that professionals talk about logistics and amateurs talk about tactics. And if we can't reload those things, all the Russians need to do is just keep firing barrages of missiles at us until they bleed us dry of air defenses, and eventually that stuff will get through. And that's otherwise known as a war of attrition. So how does that play differently? Now we know Patriot can shoot down KINZHAL hypersonic missiles. Does that mean that we can go up against DF-13 hypersonics from the Chinese? Well, we've got, on the Aegis warships, we've got SM-3, SM-2, and SM-6 capability. SM-6 able to shoot down an ICBM, SM-3 able to shoot down these missiles coming at you in the terminal phase, albeit in a very difficult scenario. Can you hit a bullet with a bullet? Yes, it's been done many, many times before. Has it been done in a high-intensity conflict before? No, not until yesterday. This is one of the biggest things that's ever happened in modern warfare. And the reason it's such a big thing is because it completely takes away the Russians' advantage against NATO and the Ukrainians. All of their advantage is now gone because their missile systems have essentially been rendered impotent, and they're rendered useless. It doesn't matter how many of these things you fire at us, because we know that we've got more missile defenses, more PAC-3, PAC-2 rockets that we can fire at you than you've got KINZHALs that you can fire at us. So it's a big thing from a strategic perspective. And what it comes down to is not the weapon systems that are being used, but the capabilities that are available to both sides. And the Russians have the hypersonic capability that allows them to go after high-value targets deep underground. It was said that they used a KINZHAL missile to destroy a NATO command center and killed 300 people. We don't know for sure because the Ukrainians don't talk about that. They've used we're pretty sure that they used KINZHAL missiles last week when they went after that Ukrainian ammo depot, potentially contained all of the depleted uranium rounds for the Challenger tanks and a series of other weapons storage caches as well. So if you take away the asymmetric advantage that they have with KINZHAL and hypersonics, and we can wipe that out with Patriot, where does that leave us? Well, that leaves us at a strategic, not a tactical, but a strategic advantage, because their air force is no longer really relevant to us. Because the only thing that's really relevant in their air force, let's face it, from a strategic perspective, is if they can fire 20 KINZHAL missiles at once and try and take out Zelensky in Kyiv. And even if they could do that, there's a succession plan in place, and there's already contingency plans to actually handle something like that, so it's not really an issue at all. For mine, it's a really interesting time as an air defense operator when I look at all of what's happening, and I just know the capabilities of phased array radars. I know the capabilities of the Spire 1 radar that's on American warships. I know how these systems work and how they come together and the integration of how these things come together. And it is absolutely game-changing. And to all the critics out there that have said that the Patriot system is complete garbage, it won't work, it's going to get plinked off the battlefield on the first day of the war, it just proves that they don't know what they're talking about. And again, it goes to the heart of that deep state conversation that we were just having. How can you possibly know that? Unless you were the operator of that missile system up against those KINZHAL missiles, you couldn't possibly know whether or not the Patriot system works. Unless you were the operator, meaning you were the console operator, you were sitting there with your mouse and your keyboard, hooking the track and getting ready for the boss to tell you to press the fire button. Unless you were sitting there doing that, there's no possible way that you could be a critic of the Patriot system. And the people that are critics of this look at what happened in Saudi Arabia against the Yemenis, against the Iranian drones, and go, oh, these things don't work, they're no good, it's not going to happen, they're going to be useless, so what? We put one battery of Patriot missiles inside of Kyiv, so what? The reality is the people in charge know better than the commentators that are out there. And it's to your point, Ed, you've got to be very, very careful of who you listen to.